In 2023, faxing is for champions. Twittering, snap-facing, fake booking, Insta-grunting, messaging and texting are for chumps. For the 99% ordinary, average, and mediocre. I want nothing to do with what the 99% believe is popular, believe is easy, believe is a shortcut or a hack, or believe is convenient. In 2023, faxing is for badass kings and badass champions. Don't think I'm kidding. I checked some stats yesterday. By the way, if you do have a fax number, if you're one of the 43 million people in America that have a fax or a fax machine, 43 million fax machines in America, 43 million. If you are one of these highly intelligent men, please reply to this email with your fax number, or email my badass bitch in charge executive assistant, the great Leanne Brennan, at leanne@badassmillionaire.com. I'll put her email below. When you reply to this email or email Leanne your fax number, you'll be added to my Brass Balls Fax Brotherhood. It's completely free. There's no charge. I'm just in the process, I've been for a year now, building a private fax list. And I send some of my very best information to this fax list. If you're on this fax list, I'll give you an example. I have fax numbers for all of my champion world builder mastermind members. Same with the world builders. I have fax numbers for a lot of my newsletter members. But when you're on my fax list, I send you some of my very best information, ideas. I could be sitting by the pool reading a newsletter, and there'll be some great idea. I'll tear out that sheet of that page of paper, that page, and I'll fax it to my list. I might be reading something in a book, a marketing idea or a sales idea or a time management idea, and I think it'd be valuable to you. I'll tear it out and literally fax it to you. And I usually send one fax per week. I don't overdo it. I'm not pitching stuff. 95% of what I send you is pure 100% content for free. I'll mention in the PS sometimes my newsletter, I'll mention my book, I'll mention my masterminds, but that's it. It's 95% content. If you're not pitching, if I'm not pitching, I'm not doing my job, by the way. If you don't appreciate salesmanship, then you're certainly in the wrong house. So really important. So send me that fax number. If you don't have a fax, which is very common. Good morning. If you don't have a fax number, make sure that you see the link and information below that Leanne provided me. She set up what's called an M-Fax. I call it E-Fax, digital fax, but it's called M-Fax, and it's a simple software, very affordable, where faxes, you don't have to have a fax machine. Your fax will come to your email and your smartphone. So that makes it you still receive everything that I'm sending without actually having to go out and buy a fax machine. It's called M-Fax, and the link is below this video, and also the link is in the email if you're on my email list. M-Fax, get that set up. It only takes a few minutes, and then email your fax number to Leanne. Leanne, Leeann at badassmillionaire.com. So when it comes to fax, like I said, there's 43 million fax machines and fax numbers in America. Just think about that for a minute. We're talking about, most professional practices, whether it's doctors, whether it's, specialists, chiropractic, anything medical, anything professional. Most insurance agents have, of course, a fax number. Retail stores, fax numbers. A lot of restaurants deal by fax. It used to be all fax in the restaurant business, the business end of it. Sports franchises, sales professionals, car dealerships. You just go on and on and on with how many businesses that still use a fax number. I have a couple of stats here. 70% of important documents, mission critical documents, it said in this article I was reading yesterday, 70% of mission critical important documents are sent by fax. Nobody trusts email. Nobody trusts text or messenger or whatever the hell it's called. Nobody trusts any of that. But 70% of mission critical documents are still sent by fax. Prescriptions, banking information, just on and on, because it's trustworthy. It's off the grid. And there was 17 billion faxes sent in the last year. That stat came from 2019, okay, 2019, 17 billion faxes were sent. Now, here's the thing. Most men say to me, oh, come on, Michael, faxing is dead. They say the same thing about email, and they say the same thing about print. They say the same thing about magazine advertisements, newspaper advertisements. They say the same thing about direct mail. Tomato cans always announce premature deaths. Instead of looking at it and saying, man, I can show up like nobody else. I can be in a category of one because everybody's not doing it anymore. So if you want to branch off from the herd and do what supposedly nobody else is doing, there's a handful of ways I just told you in terms of marketing. Faxing, direct mail, magazine advertising, newspaper advertising. These are all things that I do now. So that's the reason I know that they're effective and they work. They kick the shit out of anything anti-social media or anything online. It's not even close. Paper and ink rocks the day. So I get that all the time, that excuse. Well, Michael, faxing is dead. Well, 43 million fax numbers in America, and 17 billion faxes sent in 2019, 43 billion. So if you still think that, time to think again. You seem to be the 12th man on the deal team, last to know. So get that MFAX fixed up and get that number sent to Leanne. What I love about fax is when I'm studying, sharpening the saw, sitting on the end of the dock, or sitting on the boat, or sitting out by the pool, when I'm writing on those white recipe cards every day, when I get a really, really huge aha idea or moment, I write it down, I put it in the fax, and I send it to my list. Actually, I don't put it in the fax. Leanne puts it in the fax. I don't know why I just lied there. But nonetheless, Leanne sends a fax to my list about once per week. My champion masterminds, my top elite, top 1%ers, and they get specific faxes. I'm faxing those guys all the time because it's an effective way to deal with really, really busy men. Think about it. My most successful men are also my busiest guys, like my champions. They don't participate in any anti-social media at all. Most of them have really good control over their iPhone. They go hours and hours working without the distraction of an iPhone. They've given up politics. They've turned their back on mainstream news, and they've basically curated about 90% of their life things that do no longer serve them, whether it's alcohol, whether it's politics, whether it's mainstream news, whether it's toxic people and employees, environments. So the best of the best really appreciate when I fax them. I mail them their newsletters, I mail them their weekly telegrams, and I fax them. I don't bother my kings, I don't bother my champions with emails. I just don't. I won't bother my kings and my champions with texting. We don't text. You know, I might do a handful of texts throughout the year with my top mastermind personally. That's it. If somebody's on the hot seat or somebody's got that's it. So it's instructive. How do I communicate with the best of the best? I communicate by fax, and subsequently, I demand that they communicate with me. They fax me their homework every week. They fax me book ideas. They fax me ahas that they're coming up with. Our communication is fax or it's email through Leanne. But I'm not receiving texts, I'm not receiving emails, I'm not receiving messages or anything through anti-social media from my kings, my champions, the best of the best. They thrive with paper and ink, fax, mailings. That's just the way it is. The more successful, the further they are up the chain, up the flagpole, the more they appreciate their time being respected by communicating by fax. Same thing with my world builders. They're my top 5% mastermind brothers. And these are men that are making, 5, 6, and they want to get to consistently 7 figures a year, which they can and will do. So they want to go from 5% to top 1%. And one of the things that's a big adjustment for them is the way we communicate. I give them homework every 2 weeks. And what do they have to do? They have to fax in their homework. So I make these guys go and get a fax number. That's the first thing they do. If they arrive in our brotherhood and they don't have a fax or a fax machine, the first thing that Leanne tells them to do is get a fax number. And admittedly, a lot of them scramble. They're like, fax? I don't know if a fax, what am I gonna do? And that's where MFax comes in. You download that software and they receive faxes on their cell phone in their email box. And then they can print those off. Nothing beats a fax machine, by the way. Go out and buy a fax machine. Go out and buy the real weapon of mass production. But if you don't want to do that and you're a bit of a bargain hunter or a bit of a cheapskate, worst case scenario, go with the MFax software. But man, oh man, you can still buy a fax machine, plug it in. I have 2 of them. I have 2 fax machines that I bought in the last 3 years. So I have a fax machine here in my home in Naples, and I have a fax machine at world headquarters in Canada. So invest a little bit and MFax, or at least, and if you want to level up, get a real fax machine, and you can start communicating with your clients. You can train your clients and prospects to communicate by fax and get rid of what the 99%. So here's another reason that you should be collecting fax numbers as you build your list. If you're not building a fax list, I don't know what you're doing. I really don't know what you're doing. Here I am. I'm 2.5 years in, Mark Andre and I and Leanne, into building this badass brotherhood. But what am I building? What are we building? We're building a list of elite, generous, and driven men. That's my business. I'm building a list of elite, generous, and driven men. Men that are 45 plus, married with kids, grandkids, successful, but struggling in one or two other areas. Could be marketing, community service, marriage, fitness, mental health, time management, whatever. We all have blind spots and we work on them. So the thing is what am I focusing on? I'm focusing on always collecting. First of all, when they make a contact to buy my book, is their email. But that email doesn't go into Gmail or MailChimp or any of that other woke nonsense, those companies. I want nothing to do with big technology, nothing to do with Google. I want nothing to do with Weber. I don't want anything to do with email that's connected to any of those corrupt to the core big tech companies. I want nothing to do as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur. So my email server is through a private company. And if you ever want a reference to that, you can email or fax Leanne. My fax number is below as well. And it's about, that's my list. Nobody's going to pull that carpet from underneath me. I'm not going to wake up someday and it's not going to be there. Like if your email server is through big tech, you can wake up someday and it's gone, it's vanished. Your entire email can be gone. Like I had an email list of 66,000 people in the insurance business, my clients and prospects, and you can walk up one single day, and it can be gone. So we back up our email list every single day just because, but you better be backing up your email list every day because it can disappear in a morning, in an afternoon. Big tech doesn't like your politics. Big tech doesn't like your messaging. Big tech doesn't like the color of your eyes. Man, I don't go with MailChimp or Weber or Constant Contact, all these other big tech email platforms we used to use that are connected to Google and big tech. I'm like out. So now we use a private firm run by two small business owners. It's called Berserker Mail. And man, we've been using it for a year and we love it. So we own our email list, not big tech. We own our email list, not big tech. So that's number one, collecting the email. The second thing we focused on for 2.5 years, almost 3 years now, is we collect your physical mailing address. So when a person buys my book or subscribes to my newsletter, I get their physical their physical mailing address. I want to be able to send you stuff. I want to be able to send you a real book, send you a real newsletter, send you a real telegram, send you, a real Christmas gift, that kind of stuff. So I'm in the list building business as well, but look at what I'm capturing. And then the third thing that we're capturing now is fax numbers. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fax numbers, but it's become a priority for me because I own that media. So I own my email list, not big tech. I own my mailing list, your addresses. That's mine. I built that. That's my company. That's the equity, is your list. And thirdly, I own my fax list. I'm not going to wake up someday and they've disappeared. We back up our information every day, but also anything offline is out of that realm of, big tech. because, man, can you imagine you build a Facebook following of 1 million people, and all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're deplatformed and canceled. Your Facebook page is taken down. That's an asset that you didn't own. It's gone. Zuckerberg decided that he didn't appreciate what you were saying, or the picture you posted, or what you said about the president, and it's gone. You didn't own that asset. Same with Twitter. Look at the guys they boot off of Twitter. Whether you agree or disagree, those guys made the mistake of thinking they owned that platform. They own jack shit. They didn't own that platform. Elon Musk now owns that platform. Same thing with YouTube. Have you noticed how my ads or my daily videos now come to our platform? They're not hosted on YouTube. Sure, we put the videos on YouTube if you want to watch YouTube on YouTube, fill your boots. But if you noticed, now, including this daily video, it takes you to my page. Keyword MY, my page. And you know what? The day I get the boot off of YouTube, which is just a matter of time, because think about it, like, I'm pro-business, I'm pro-family, I'm pro-God, I'm pro-work, I'm pro-capitalism, I'm pro-self-responsibility, I'm pro-marriage, pro-family, so, you know, pro-autonomy and personal sovereignty. So those are the things that are going to eventually get me removed from YouTube. So for me to stand here and walk each day and say, oh, look at me, I've got 2,000 followers, subscribers, subs they call them, Goofy calls them subs. I got 3,000 subs, look at me. Well, who gives a shit? Because you can wake up one morning and your channel is gone. And it will be gone, especially if you talk about anything that's important. So I have videos that have, you know, I have a video there that's closing in on near 500,000 or 1 million views. I don't know. I don't go watch it. And so what? That can all be taken down. So we've moved our daily videos. Mark Andre's created our own page that we own. We own those videos. We own our email. We own our mailing list. We own our fax list. Do you see where I'm going with this? Are you visualizing the importance? There is a coming to Jesus in terms of off and online, and it's happening now, where social media is about to blow up for the corrupt to the core business, whatever you want to call it, that it is. It's a criminal enterprise. And the worst of the worst is here now through TikTok. You know, that's just a information, public and private information harvesting company. That's all it is. TikTok has put the worst of Facebook, the worst of Twitter, the worst of Snapface, the worst of Instagram all together in one tight little package for our children, for our teenagers, for our adult children, for mums and dads to consume every day. And what is it doing? It is harvesting information. Information you normally wouldn't give if your life depended. If you were on bended knee with a gun to your head, you wouldn't give some of the information that's being harvested on TikTok. And who's it being harvested for? Oh yeah, the Chinese government. TikTok is directly linked to Chinese government. So every time you're on there, you're sending your information, your likes, your wants, your pleasures, your whatever to the Chinese government. So really, you don't have anybody to blame. Does fax do that? Does physical mail do that? Does private email do that? Doesn't do any of that. So do you see, if you're part of any of that swamp, just get it the hell away. Get it off your phones, get it off your computers, get it off your laptops, delete all the apps, delete all of it. Cut the rope, not a little bit. You don't do a little bit of heroin each morning. You don't do a little bit of crack cocaine. You don't smoke one cigarette. You don't have one whiskey chaser for breakfast. You curate and swift sword that poison out of your life for good. Done next. Done next. Well, anti-social media is the worst. That's manufactured mental illness, for you, your children, your family. It's a fucking attack on you as a man. It is a fucking attack on you as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a community leader, as an entrepreneur. It is an attack on your mentality. It is an attack on your brain power. It's an attack on your ethics. It's an attack on your values. It's an attack on your creator. It's an attack on your heart and your soul. Manufactured mental illness. Manufactured mental illness into one nice little pill. Anti-social media. Get that shit out of your life. Get that shit out of your kid's life. Don't let anybody that you love near it. TikTok, manufacturing private information for the Chinese government. Smart on China's end. They're like, hey, let's see how many dumbass Canadians and dumbass Americans we can get. How many we can addict. How many we can get to send us all of their likes, dislikes, private information, mailing addresses, contacts, information about their children, about their teenagers, about their sex life, about their what they like to eat, what they like to drink, their daily habits, and we'll put it all together, we'll harvest it, and we'll use it against them. Think about it. That's pretty smart. That's called digital warfare. That's what it. We don't have World War III coming in terms of boots on the ground. We're already in World War III. It's a biological welfare, pandemic, restrictions, China virus, and now we're into what I call digital warfare. World War III, digital warfare. Americans and Canadians and other free countries literally handing our private information, our most prized thoughts and beliefs and habits to a communist regime in China. Could you imagine 30 years ago and if there was anti-social media and Reagan was president and he was sitting there and watching every American, 95% of Americans and 95% of Canadians harvesting and giving up all their privacy information to Gorbachev in the Soviet Union? Could you imagine? We're going to send all of our secrets behind the Iron Curtain. No, there wasn't any of that. But today, digital warfare, and we've just been through 3 years of biological warfare. Who says you need soldiers? God bless them, best people on the earth. Who says you need boots on the ground soldiers anymore? You don't need, the Chinese don't need boots on the ground in America. They don't need boots on the ground in Canada. They're already here. They don't even need a fucking balloon in the sky. They're already doing it through the addiction, the absolute toxic addiction of social media. We're doing it for them. We're doing it for them. And if you don't speak up about it, if you don't lead the way, if you don't talk about it, if you don't ban that shit in your home, if you don't ban that stuff when it comes to your children, your teenagers, and your own spouse, man, oh man, you are sheep. Lions don't put up with that. Lions don't put up with that. So once again, we're our own worst enemy, right? But we also can be the solution. We can be the solution. So I got a little off topic there. Send your fax number to Leanne today. If you don't have a fax machine or a fax number, go to that MFax software below. It's the one we use. I don't know if it's the best price. I don't care. It's the one I use. I don't recommend anything that I don't use. So we've used that software for about, I don't know, a year and a half. And we've had very few issues. And you can ask Leanne, she'll tell you. And but that's my recommendation, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other options for faxing software. One last thing, I was reading an article the other day about your marketing, and here's what it is. Guess what gets most priority in 2023? So they're in your day, a person's desk when they're at work. There's emails that come in. There's texts that come into your world every day. There's actual phone calls, not many, that you have to return or take. There's mail, there's physical mail, there still is physical mail. Social media message. Some of you are on Messenger, you know, you have messages through Facebook or Twitter or that other business site. Whatever, doesn't matter, literally doesn't matter. You have communication, ways of communicating coming through to you every day. But this article was talking about priority. And I was discussing this with Doberman Dan. I said, Dan, what's your level of priority? Like, rank your priorities of importance if I'm trying to communicate with you. Doberman Dan is one of the top copywriters in the world. He's a friend of mine now. And I hired him to write some copy for us. I don't have enough time. I've got to swim and golf and play tennis and rollerblade with my kids. So I hired Dan, probably one of the top, maybe 5 in the world. Good morning. The top 5 copywriters in the world. And he's working on magazine ads, newspaper ads, media buying. I like Dan. He's a fucking badass, man. He lives life on his own terms. He lives in Oracle, Florida here, off the grid. I mean, I fax him all the time. I send him an email. I don't hear back for days. So all I do is fax Dan. So I said to him the other day, I said, tell me about what are the best ways for, what grabs your attention? He said, number 1, Michael, is fax. He says, when you send me a fax, it prints off. He has a real fax machine and it sits on my desk. And it gets my number 1 priority. It's number 1 in the inbox. When you send a fax, he goes, I basically stop everything. When I receive a fax, I basically stop everything and read it. He said, it's like a present coming. It's like a FedEx package arriving at his door. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I said, well, what's next? He goes, physical mail. He said, when you send a physical mail, which is my newsletter, and those clear or red or shiny envelopes, he said that's number 2. He said, I can't really ignore your physical newsletters. He said, your telegrams. I sent real telegrams to my Diamond members. You can upgrade by talking to Leanne. I send weekly telegrams, my best stuff, to my Diamond members. He said, well, that's number 2 is your mail. Whatever you mail me, he says, gets priority. I send them big FedEx packages sometimes, big Reddit boxes. Whenever I send them FedEx, that's top mail, and then regular first class mail is number 2. So fax number 1 and mail is number 2 in terms of getting attention. I said, what's number 3? And he said, well, a distant number 3, he said, is if a friend or client texts me. He chooses to give out his cell phone. I don't do that, but he does that. So he says, you know, text is number 3. I'll get back to them later. I'll respond at the end of the day. You know, but I read it and I usually forget about it. I said, what's number 4? He said, email, I believe. He said, email, you know, it's 90% unopened, 90% unread, but he said, I do read my emails, again, end of the day or maybe the next day. Whenever I email him, man, I don't hear back for like a day or 2 because he doesn't value it. And then I said, what's last? And he said, well, he says, I don't participate, but he said social media or a phone, I guess a phone call, he said. He doesn't take direct phone calls, so phone call would probably be number 3 if he was in a business where he took phone calls. So my point being is, when you fax your clients and your prospects, when you fax your VIPs like real content like I do, like real stuff that helps them, then you're at the top of their list for the day. They print that thing off, or it prints itself off, and you're at the top of the list. When I send you a fax, it prints off or you print it off, man, I'm right there. I'm physically in your world. And then secondly, he said mail. What did I tell you? The second thing you have to build in your business is build your mailing list. So that's what he's got going there. And third, he said, he goes, I'd have to say phone call like real, you know, Ma Bell phone call, or he said email, and he says not even close. So your top two are fax and mail. So really interesting. That's why I'm telling you, I'm pleading with you to please start building your list of prospects and clients, but make sure your email is away from that big tech criminal enterprise. Make sure they're not able to harvest your information, look at your stuff, look at your emails, you know, any of that stuff that's going on. And secondly, make sure you're capturing fax numbers and full mailing addresses. If shit hits the fan, whether it does or it doesn't, you've got a fax list. You can communicate immediately again with anybody you want. You have a mailing list, you can mail people no matter what happens. Doesn't matter if there was a pandemic or whether there was a war or whether there was anything and everything. Nothing's going to stop the mail, and nothing's going to, good morning, nothing is going to stop your fax. But boy, when it comes to that other stuff, and especially if you have a private email server, nothing's going to stop that, and you back it up every day. So think about it. Think about it. Digital warfare, boots on the ground. This is boots on the ground instead of depending on, you know, digital warfare. All that stuff. There's going to be a swift sword. There's going to be a thinning of the herd when it comes to digital. And I can't wait to see it, because I'm going to be ready with my email list, my fax list, and good morning. And I'm going to be ready with my mailing list. So those are the things that I'm going to do, and I can't recommend enough how important that is to absolutely make sure boots on the ground, off the grid. If you're interested in hearing more about what I talk about, if you enjoy my daily walk and talk messages, brass balls, everything, brass balls. The links are below to my new book, nobullbook.com. You can subscribe to my monthly paper and ink newsletter, once again, off the grid, badassletter.com. And if you really want to go balls to the wall, join my World Builders Mastermind. We meet every second Wednesday. It's a digital mastermind, no travel, no hotels, no expenses. Every second Wednesday we meet for 2 hours with yours relentless and your other brothers, and we work on building the world of your dreams. I basically guarantee that you 2x or 5x your entire life and business in 1 year, 12 months. Badassworldbuilders.com. The link is below. Those links are below. That's it for today. 38 minutes. I walked out this morning. I said to my daughter, Emery, I said, I'm going to keep this one close. I'm going to keep this one short. There's no story that I can't, there's no short story that I can't make into a long story. I get that from my my father, and I also get that from my grandfather, and now my Emery. Emery has the dreamer's disease, the entrepreneurial dreamer's disease that my dad said I had when I was 12. He was like, oh shit, you've got the dreamer's disease. Your brother's got the dreamer's disease. And it panned out. Good morning. It panned out into, he runs his own law firm, and I run, of course, my own world building businesses. Is so interesting is storytelling, and my daughter has that as well. She makes short stories long. Not everybody's cup of tea, but what the hell. Kick ass and take names. 2 words that changed my life. Send Leanne your fax number. If you don't have a fax number, go below, sign up for that software now, and send her the fax number. You're gonna love it. It's free. It's some of my very best content. Oh my God, it's 95% content that can help you. I'm just walking by my house here. Can you see that? Can you see that? So that is the sidewalk in front of the Escalade in front of our home. My daughter, that's her, I'm gonna talk about this tomorrow, but she came out here on Sunday and put chalk there for her dog walking business. And I'm going to talk about the starving crowd. She knows what a starving crowd is. The great late Gary Halbert spoke about the starving crowd, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Today is MFAX and fax machines. and 43 million faxes in America. I wonder how many there is in Canada. Quite a bit, probably 8 million, 10 million, I'm guessing. If I was a gambler, which I am, I would guess that 8 to 10 million. So anyway, I'm going to talk about our sidewalk chalk here with my daughter and how it's growing her business. I'll do that tomorrow. That's it. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.